You've been watching that monster buck all summer, and just like that, he disappears. Where did he go? Probably over to your neighbor's property, where he's getting exactly what he wants. If you're waiting for deer to come back, you've already lost. But here's the thing, you can flip the script and become the neighbor that's been stealing all the bucks. Make your land the destination, not just a pit stop. Today, we're breaking down the strategy of pulling in more bucks, keeping them on your property, and making sure those big bucks call your spot home. So often we hear stories about guys watching and following big bucks for them to all of a sudden disappear. Why did they disappear? And where did they go? The reality is that deer move on purpose. They have a plan, they know what they're looking for, and they know what they need. And oftentimes, when a deer realizes that the resources aren't there, or that the resources have dried up, and we'll get more into that later, they leave. Think about back in the day when people were nomads, when they just lived off the land. They would establish an area that had resources, and then when all the resources were used up, they packed up and they moved on to the next place that had the resources they need to not only survive, but thrive. And bucks do the same thing. When they realize they don't have what they need, or even more importantly, during certain times of the year when they know they need certain things and not others, they go looking for it. And if you'll make sure you have all the things that a buck needs on your property, more than likely, they will stay there all year long. And even more importantly, you'll begin to see other bucks that left their property looking for the resources that they found on yours. The reality is, deer, especially bucks, they don't roam aimlessly. 3 key factors to keep deer on your property is nutrition, make sure they have food, security, cover, shelter, and the doe. Those 3 factors make your property irresistible for bucks. Let's dive into all 3. First, nutrition. The reality is, a buck is seeking nutrition constantly, especially during the growing months, which are the spring and summer months. They're seeking nutrition leading into the rut. They know they have to store energy to make it through the winter. Nutrition is so important. So what are you doing on your farm to add nutrition? Whether it's forage-based, whether it's greenery, whether it's fruit trees, acorn trees, or a feed supplement program, even adding additional vitamin mineral sites to your property are all key factors in nutrition to keeping the buck on your property. If he doesn't have what he needs to not only thrive, but to survive, then he's getting out of there. It's simple as that. Nutrition is so important to holding bucks. If you can hold a buck on your property for a couple years, as that buck gets older, he's staying as long as those 3 factors remain. So nutrition is a huge, huge element. Secondly, big bucks gotta have security. Having cover on your property to hide in, travel through, simply feel secure and safe is a key factor to holding bucks on your property. So having things on your property that add cover is key. Whether that's tall grasses, whether that's going in and cutting down unproductive trees to create bedding area or cover areas, it's all important. Having security, having shelter, having things for a deer to feel like it's protected will be a huge, huge element to your property. If you don't have cover on your property, seek ways to improve it. Find ways to add the things that it takes for a buck to feel secure while roaming your acreage. And thirdly, doe. It's simply the life cycle. Certain times of the year, a buck is gonna go looking for a mate. And oftentimes, that buck will leave your property if the buck-doe ratio is not healthy, if he's not finding the doe he wants that are in heat and that are receptive, he will move on. Now, sometimes this is very difficult to keep from happening. But the reality is, if you have a healthy number of doe, if you have a healthy level of doe on your property, he simply will have to travel less to find a doe to breed, and that will keep him on your property. Nutrition, security, and the ladies. The reality is, if you really want to do everything you can do to keep bucks on your property year in and year out, and help grow those big mature deer that ultimately are gonna be the size you want to harvest. Yes, nutrition is important. Yes, security is important. And yes, you have to have the doe. But if I could simply put it, don't stop feeding if you've been feeding. Feed when everyone else traditionally doesn't. Take the extra steps to add the resources to your property that will make them want to stay, and you will see great results. Don't be misled by the idea that, man, it's so expensive to feed year-round, or it's so expensive to feed in the off-season. If your neighbor's not feeding, it doesn't take much to get those deer on your property. If you'll just fill your feeders one additional time that you normally don't, it will make a difference, especially if everybody else around you is cutting corners. Hey, if you like these videos, guys, why don't you check out this one?